Hey animal lovers! So in today's video I'm going to be going over how to prep for a rabbit surgery. So my rabbit Poi over here, he is getting neutered. I will put chapters in this video, and the first chapter is going to be how to make an appointment and what that entails. When you decide you want to get your female rabbit spayed or your male rabbit neutered, the first thing you'll have to do is make sure that the rabbit is old enough. A rabbit has to be at least 6 months old to have that surgery, and they need to be in good health, and you need to make sure you have enough money for the surgery. It depends on the vet, but you can expect to pay hundreds of dollars for a spay and a neuter. But more importantly than the cost is that it's a good rabbit savvy vet that specializes in exotics and has had successful rabbit surgeries in the past. To know how to find a rabbit savvy vet, it'll have to be a vet that specializes in exotics because rabbits are considered exotic. And one place you can find vets near you is a website called House Rabbit Society. I have previously had one of my rabbits neutered at a rabbit savvy vet, and I paid a little over $200 for the surgery. I had to give a down payment of $100 before the surgery and then the rest after the surgery. So when you find a vet, if you're not already a client at that vet, then you should expect to pay a new client fee. At my vet, it was $50 for a new patient. So when you call them, first you can tell them what you want, that you want to get your rabbit spayed or neutered, and then they might tell you that they'll need to do a pre-op or a new patient examination, so expect to pay for that as well. I had to take this guy in for a new patient exam. They had to make sure he was healthy and stuff and get him signed in as a new patient. And at that examination, I scheduled the surgery appointment. But over the phone, you can ask them questions or wait for that pre-op to ask these questions. But some good questions to ask to make sure that this is a good place to get your rabbit spayed or neutered is you can ask them if they will be using gas or intubation for the anesthetic, and intubation is safer. You can also ask them if they will provide pain medication, and if the answer is yes, then that's good. They might ask you how old your rabbit is, but if they don't, you can ask them how old a rabbit has to be to get spayed or neutered, and the correct answer is at least 6 months old. When you're on the phone, you can ask them the estimate of how much the surgery will cost, like before you make any appointments. You can ask that. So I think that covers the first step into getting your rabbit spayed or neutered. The next chapter will be going over what you need to do to prepare for the surgery. You of course need a way to transport the rabbit to the vet for the pre-op and surgery. You will need a crate of some sort to carry the rabbit, and it has to be big enough to hold both the rabbit and hay and or pellets. I doubt the rabbit will drink any water, so you probably don't need to have room for a water bowl. You can bring one if you want, but my rabbits have never drunk water while at the vet, but they have eaten hay while there. So yeah, the vet will tell you that you need to bring food with you, because unlike other animals and humans, where you have to fast for a certain amount of time before surgery, rabbits, you have to make sure they have eaten up to surgery, and because they need to constantly be having something going through their system. And rabbits, they don't throw up. They're not capable of doing that. So yeah, anyway, the surgery will most likely take place in the early morning. It did for me. I had to bring him in between 7:30 and 8:30. So in the crate, you should have either a towel, blanket, or puppy pad on the bottom, and some kind of hay feeder. It might even be good to put a blanket around the crate to keep the bunny calmer, more secure, especially if it's a crate that is very open and airy. So before bringing your rabbit home from surgery, you should be ready for the healing process, and to get ready for that, you will need a pen like this, or just a small room that you can have your rabbit in. The floor of that area needs to be blanketed completely, no hard floor, because it's dangerous to have a rabbit that's healing from surgery on a slippery floor. So when I get this guy neutered. I'm going to make this pen smaller so that the whole floor can be covered in blankets. And the reason the rabbit should be in a pen or small empty room is to keep the rabbit from being able to jump onto anything. So I'm going to be removing these hides and stuff that he can jump on. As for the litter box, it's good to have a litter box that has a low opening. This one does, so I'll just keep that in here. If you don't have a litter box with a low entrance, then you can use puppy pads and put that in a corner with the hay feeder and just clean it out more often. So when you bring the rabbit in for surgery, you'll just be handing him or her over to them, and then you can go back home and they'll give you a call when the surgery is over and figure out a time with you that would be good for picking him or her up. They called me, I think, around noon, and then I picked him up later in the afternoon, and he was acting very drowsy, did not have an appetite. After surgery, they may offer you critical care to have in case your rabbit does not start eating that post-op day. We rabbit owners should have critical care on hand already, so make sure to tell them that you already have critical care at home so that you don't have to pay for their critical care. And critical care, if you don't know, is a formula, like a powder formula of everything a rabbit could need, and you use it in emergencies when a rabbit won't eat. You do have to call the vet before using it. I did once have to use it when I couldn't make it to the vet because they were like closing or something, so they asked me if I had critical care, and I did, so that was good since my rabbit was not eating. So anyway, that's one of the things you should probably make sure you have before setting up your rabbit to have surgery. Otherwise, you'll just have to pay for their critical care if they offer it. And also, you might have to give your rabbit pain medicine, which I can show you how to do, or at least how I do it with my rabbit, but that usually comes in a syringe. After surgery, you do need to make sure your rabbit eats something in the next 8 hours. Otherwise, you'll need to call the vet, and they'll most likely tell you to give the rabbit critical care, which involves putting it in a syringe or onto a spoon if the rabbit won't take the syringe. Following the directions, basically, adding water to it, turning it into a paste. My rabbit was happy to eat critical care when I had to give it to him, so I didn't need to use a syringe, but your rabbit should like the taste of it, especially if you get the strawberry banana flavored one. And you can keep critical care in the freezer to keep it good longer, since you're not going to be using it very often, hopefully. As long as your rabbit is eating and drinking soon after surgery, that's a really good sign. Don't force them to do anything. They're going to be really sleepy, and it's best to just leave them alone. Just take care of the necessities. I'm finally getting around to making this part of the video. It's been about 4 weeks since Poi had his surgery, so now I'm going to talk about my experience with him, and it is a bit different than my previous rabbit Pumpkin's surgery. So at drop-off in the morning, you actually do most likely have to fill something out before leaving. You may also have to do a down payment at that time, like half the money in advance, like I did last time. However, this time that wasn't the case for me. I paid a little over $200 after the surgery, nothing before. So I guess even the same vet can change up the way they do things. So he was dropped off early in the morning, and this time around I actually got a call soon after drop off. Like after they had examined him, they gave me a call and they told me that he is actually underdeveloped, which I thought was really weird since he's over 8 months old and they can get neutered at 6 months old, and he was already examined before saying he looked good, and that's why we were able to set up the whole surgery thing. But this was a different doctor, and I guess he must have taken a closer look than the previous doctor, and they suggested that I wait a couple more months before getting him neutered to see if he will develop anymore. They did say though that they could still do it, but they suggested to wait. I did ask them if it would be riskier to still go ahead with it, and she just said that a surgery itself is always risky. So since they said they could still do it and he was already there, and there was no guarantee that waiting would make him more developed, especially since it's been long enough to where he should be developed fully, especially since he's acting mature and stuff, but he was probably underdeveloped because he is a mixed breed. That's my thought anyway. I also trust them from my previous surgery, and because they are a good vet, I decided to go ahead and have them do the surgery anyway, and thankfully it was successful. So they called me around midday like last time, and they said to pick him up as soon as possible, which wasn't really the case last time, but anyway, I still needed a couple hours before I could pick him up because I had something I needed to do first. The reason they wanted me to pick him up as soon as possible was because they think it's good to not keep a rabbit away from its regular routine for too long. They told me he'd be coming home with critical care and pain medication. I told them that I already have critical care, but they said that it's included, which it wasn't last time, so I'm surprised that it's included this time and that I don't have to pay extra for it. When I picked him up, unlike Pumpkin, he was very awake and alert, not at all sleepy, acting like nothing even happened. I was like, did you really have surgery? He also ate straight away, so maybe it's because he is a lot younger than Pumpkin was. So I had to give him pain medication starting the next morning. I decided to give him pain medication at 9 in the morning, thinking that that's around the time that he was given pain medication after surgery. Every morning, 24 hours later, I would give him the pain medication, and I already had his setup all ready to go for the first couple weeks of healing. I will go ahead and show you what I did for giving him pain medication. I wanted to make it as quick as possible, so I think the best position I could think of was to have him on his back, but still mostly vertical. That way I could check on his surgery area to make sure it looks good, and then also give him pain medication that way, even though there might be better ways to give a rabbit medicine with a syringe. Any way where they can be on their feet is better. Some rabbits will bite the syringe, and that makes it easy. But not all rabbits are very tolerant at staying still. It helps to cover their face, like their eyes, just hold their face, which helps them to calm down when they're freaking out or being held. After 2 weeks, I gave him back his hides in a regular litter box. Actually, I gave him his regular litter box like 3 days after surgery because the puppy pads were just too messy and he was starting to eat the puppy pads, and that litter box has a low enough entrance anyway. So basically I just put his pen back to the way it was after a couple weeks. But at 2 weeks he was still acting excited around Penelope, so I definitely wasn't going to let him out, even though the vet said that he could be let out at 2 weeks to be around other rabbits, but I don't think they took into consideration that my other rabbit is an unspayed female. And online I read that a rabbit has to be at least 6 weeks post-surgery before you can let them be around an unspayed female rabbit, because it takes like 6 weeks for the sperm to completely die off. So it's been 4 weeks. I'm gonna wait another couple weeks, even though he's acting not excited around Penelope anymore. Gonna be safer than sorry. Well, I think that's it. So hopefully this video was helpful. A little bit anyway. That's my experience with getting my rabbits neutered. I hope it made sense. Put a like on this video if it was helpful or if you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. God bless you, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye. He sure is enjoying his mother's kisses.